Hey everybody, we're back for an exciting episode of Are You Effing Serious? I'm Jersey. This is my partner, Tex.
What's going on, folks? How y'all doing today?
So this week, big topic in the news: Geraldo Rivera and Russell Simmons got a beef, and it's a big talk in New York City.
Right. Shouldn't those two old motherfuckers be sitting down somewhere talking about retirement, 401ks, and Roth IRAs and shit like that?
Yeah.
I mean, y'all seem to be a little old to be having beefs.
When the 70-year-old Geraldo Rivera and the 58-year-old Russell Simmons got a beef, it's about hip hop.
Well, you know what? No matter what, my money's on Russell. All right, so
Even
what's
my
up?
money's on Russell, and I'm a Puerto Rican.
So,
Jeez.
So what's the story?
Well, the story is this: Geraldo went on several news outlets, and he said hip-hop culture has damaged more black and brown people than racism has in the last decade.
I think that's a flat-out lie, 100% right there.
And I was like, Geraldo, did it damage us a little bit? Yes, but video games and gangster movies did more damage to black and brown people compared to rap music. Or maybe the same amount, but no.
Okay, here's what I heard. Hip-hop has caused more damage to black and brown people than racism.
Yes.
Okay.
In the last decade.
I just want to go ahead and throw this out
Yes,
here.
sir.
In the last decade, meaning
Yes,
the
sir.
last 10 years, hip-hop, to my knowledge, hasn't pulled triggers and killed young black men and had them laying on the street. Ignorant people and racism have done that. Racism hasn't brought people together under one banner or unity of music and understanding in order to work together to achieve greater things, to reach more people, to spread a message of, whatever message, is spreading. Wealth, joy, prosperity. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's big differences between the two of there. I mean, to be honest, Geraldo, by him never being anchored in a hip-hop culture or community, I don't think would have any basis to make that statement. Number two, I think if he were to make that statement, it would be a biased statement anyway. So I think that, he's wrong off top to go ahead and say it. And to be honest, Russell Simmons is not the ambassador of fucking hip-hop. Yeah.
Is he an innovator who created Def Jam? Yes.
Yeah.
And let's think about the artists that he first signed back in the day. Let's go back in time to about 1985.
Which one? Run DMC?
Run DMC, LL Cool J.
Oh, his brother first. Just to point that out. First thing he did was put his brother on.
His
Run
brother.
DMC.
Run.
And then LL Cool J.
Beastie Boys.
So on and so forth.
Those are the first artists to really make money on the Def Jam label. And then they
Right.
went on and progressed to modern day.
Right.
But those were the three artists that really started making the millions. So back then, and I can understand, there's a debate in the hip-hop world between old school and new school. Old school has more content. New school is more just trap gangsta bullshit.
Flashy.
Some of this gay shit the last 10 years.
What I got, yeah.
There's a debate. I mean, I love rap music.
But now we have to look at it this way. Hip-hop is only a reflection of what's going on in our society.
Yes.
And so the thing is, the racism in our society is only being reflected in the hip-hop. So it's not that hip-hop is being damaged by racism. It's just that hip-hop is a reflection of racism. Think, for an example, like we say, we call the gay stuff. Like these guys wearing these tight-ass pants. Like, for an example, seriously.
Yeah.
Those guys wearing those tight-ass pants, is an example of them reflecting their society, which is only being reflected by the media.
True.
Now, the media isn't 100% hip-hop. A lot of these kids, they do watch, the BET, they're tuned in and plugged in on their phones, but they're also seeing the stuff that's going on. And when you have celebrities, that are doing these same things, and they're basically emulating that, and then it's coming out into the music, it's not that it's racism that they're speaking about or that it's hurt it. It's the media. The media is stop showing these strong black role models for these young, people to, to tune into. When the Cosby Show went off the air, there was no one there. You have your basically like Mos Def and Talib Kweli. I would say probably like the end generation of like when the Cosby Show was out. Like the end generation of the Cosby kids. But it's like you don't have that same gentrification. That same cohesiveness between both. Because Bill Cosby was able to go ahead and put on the hip hop artists at the time, say Stevie Wonder, at the same time while putting on the jazz artists. He was able to go ahead and embrace and bring it all into this nice bubbling pot and then put it out. And so the thing is for Geraldo to say that it's being damaged. He's only looking at one aspect of it.
I agree
If you
with
look at the Tupac and if you look at the murders and the negative things that have happened, yeah, but you also have to look at the positive too.
I think he's really looking at the modern day mainstream trap hip hop stuff of the last 10 years. And even me, I don't like the new stuff of the last 10 years. I'm 31. I grew up on hip hop, okay? All the way from I know my history. I know Sugar Hill Gang, I know Run DMC, I know Ice-T, all the way to the present.
Well, here's the other thing too.
Some people don't.
I have to interject, but that's the other thing. You grew up on rap.
Yes, sir.
But there's a difference between rap and hip hop, and that's something a distinction that a lot of people don't make.
I'll give you that.
When Russell Simmons and the Beastie Boys, Run DMC, and LL Cool J, they were rapping, and that's what that was. That was the genre of music that was being produced at the time, and rap had its own negative connotation. Now, when you take that rap side of it, the art form,
Yes.
because that's what happened. Rap was first, something that was done. It was an art form, but now it's become commercialized and mainstream. Once that happened and became something that the media was able to latch onto, that is what allowed it to go ahead and transition from, now you have people that rap, and then you have people that do hip hop.
I got you.
Hip hop is this stuff where you're talking about, you're not rapping about anything, just quick little bit sentences, dropping punchlines here and there, culturally relevant stuff. Again, the Kanye's, Nicki Minaj's, the Drakes, and stuff like that. You have people that used to do rap, like Lil Wayne, that does hip hop now. Because if you look at Lil Wayne with the Carter, versus when he first came out, I forgot the name of his first album. Forgive me, because I knew it. Well, I do know it. But I mean, just look at that transition. And, and it's not just the music as a whole, but it's, again, what we personify is that success. Before, with rap, it was just the fact of other people being able to hear what you were saying was enough gratification. Now, in order to be deemed successful in hip-hop, you have to have other people, basically saying what you say or wearing what you wear and stuff like that in order to make yourself relevant. And so, hip-hop, again, is the most culturally diverse thing that's out there because they embrace white rappers, Latino rappers, all types of music as a whole. Because even reggaeton, I would
It's an offshoot.
Yeah, I would consider that to be part of hip hop.
Just Hispanic flavored hip hop,
And
reggaeton. I'm not a fan of it, but people love it, and it came from.
Yeah,
you have to accept the roots of it.
Yeah. So for Geraldo to go ahead and try to, again, make this as a basis of a point, again, only shows his ignorance and his lack of connection to the culture. And like I said, because Russell Simmons is not the ambassador of black people when it comes to hip hop, I think he's someone that you may want to look to as one of the maybe older pioneers, but there's other ones that you can look at too. You got Kumo D still around. Big Daddy Kane's still around.
Will.
I had to say,
Even though he was corny, Mr. Smith, legendary box office draw.
You have a lot of people that, and I think that for that discussion, it would be number one better held in a forum or a panel discussion as opposed to a one-on-one. That's just my thoughts, apparently.
But as he said, black and brown. Speaking as a brown person, which I've been all my life, some people might disagree. Might be like, he's brown.
Yeah, I would
lightly.
say more of a peach.
Okay, as a Hispanic, to Geraldo, sir, Puerto Rican to Puerto Rican. Do I understand that rap music today, hip-hop music today, is not, mainstream hip-hop is not portrayed very positively today? The shit that you see in the mainstream, I love rap music and I love hip-hop, but I like more content, more positive messages, and some party stuff too, but today's hip-hop music isn't really doing anything for me.
It's not.
And I'm not even old.
It's not because they're not talking about anything, and a lot of them are so young that they have not really experienced any life yet. And so again, hip-hop is more of that young person's, genre. Rap is still, more of, an older head's game, where, you like I said, you're looking for messages, you're looking for meaning, you're looking for content, you're looking for substance. I remember, Queen Latifah rapping, and again, it was something that, when you listen to it, it made you feel good. Most Def, Talib Kweli, most recently. I mean, of all the new rappers that are
Yeah.
out right now, but I can't think of anyone offhand that is rapping about anything that makes me want to say, wow, I want to listen to that again.
I agree with you. And as Geraldo is a guy in his 70s, I think he's just seeing the twerking and all the other cultural things, and he's like, this is what this is. Geraldo, I'm telling you, Papi, there's a difference between the twerking and the rap culture, okay, and the hip hop culture. Like, there was tenets to the hip hop business. Like, back in the day, came from the South Bronx, party music. It was about the DJing, the b-boying, and the graffiti. It was all a movement. Now, some people my age couldn't even tell you those things because they don't study and they don't know anything about it. But if you're not talking about all those things, you're just talking about one aspect of something.
The other side that he has to look at too is, and just to touch on what you just said, the twerking. Actually, even back in the 50s and 60s, there was a dance, I forgot the name of it, that they did that was essentially the equivalent of twerking now. And so again,
I mean, Tootsie Roll. My boy said Tootsie Roll is just twerking is a retarded Tootsie Roll.
I wouldn't go that far. I mean,
But I mean,
if you look at
it,
it, the electric slide was officially like the first black line dance, at least as far as my understanding. The Tootsie Roll was apparently the second official like black line dance. But the twerking. I mean, like I said, it was a dance that they did back then that was just like that, and so it's kind of like, again, you had the dance before rap and before hip hop. Just because it's brought back now, again, you can't go ahead and base that and say, well, you have this because of this when this was already here. So again, like I said, I mean, he's just basically showing himself to be, well, like you said, an ignorant old spick.
And then Russell went with the Geraldo. Now, Geraldo, yes, you're half a Jewish guy. We know you're Puerto Rican Jew. We don't have to go with the Jewish. What is with the black and the Jew thing in New York? Like, what is with blacks that like Jews, Jews don't like blacks? I don't get it.
They've basically been pitted against each other, from the beginning, essentially. Once that segregation, once Jews were basically started being separated and isolated from their Hispanic and Italian counterparts, and of course, their white counterparts, and basically been pushed further and further, to the outskirts of the city, and the suburbs starting to be associated and regulated into a lot of Puerto Rican communities, because number one, they fit in, they could hold the look, so on and so forth. But at the same time, Italians and blacks, already had, their separation. So a lot of Jews brought that with them because they were around the Italians at first and the whites.
Fair enough.
Got this is how we feel about blacks. But then, like I said, it's like, oh, you're Jewish, now you got to go here. You know what I'm saying? Italians don't want to deal with you, so you're still dealing with your Puerto Ricans. And, a lot of Puerto Ricans, a lot of native-born Puerto Ricans have that same, bias against darker-colored Puerto Ricans as well as blacks. So, I mean, again, a lot of people have always had, that negativity or that negative stereotype towards, darker skin being a negative detriment, as a whole. So, I mean, it's always been around. I mean, you have to think about it. Even back to the Middle East, when you have darker colored Jews that were being persecuted by lighter colored Jews. I mean, Jews are just a funny people, man.
That's very interesting. So we definitely have to touch upon something else. Like, has hip hop hurt anybody? I think it could have hurt you in a roundabout way. The culture intensifies stereotypes that whites or other minorities might have against blacks or Hispanics. I'll say it intensifies stereotypes.
Has it hurt anyone?
Hurt? I don't know. Intensify the stereotypes? Yes.
Well, I definitely agree with you that hip hop has definitely intensified stereotypes in regards to what black people, and especially young black people, find or view as important. I think that as far as has it hurt anyone, if I were to try to remain completely objective, I would say yes. I would say that to a degree, it has hurt the religions that don't readily accept hip hop because it makes them seem to be standoffish. For an example, you don't see a very large Indian hip hop influence. You don't see a very large Asian hip hop influence. When I say Asian, referring to Chinese, Japanese.
Nationally, no, there are pockets. New York has hip hop Asians. Northern California, the Bay Area, is known for their hip hop Asians.
Well, see, the thing is like
Different areas.
See, hip hop is a universal and an international community. And the thing is, for the most part, we tend to stay regionalized within our own areas. And only certain people make that international transition. And what I'm saying is that you have hip hop artists from the United States that tour all over the world, but you don't have that many Indian hip hop artists that, are known and famous and come over here. Like the last one I remember from the Middle East was like MIA. The whole Paper Planes chick.
I've heard of MIA, but I didn't know she was Middle Eastern, to be honest with you. I was unaware.
I mean, yeah, just that. I say Middle Eastern because that's what she looks like, and I remember reading that family was like some.
Middle Eastern is a tricky thing because Kim Kardashian is considered Middle Eastern on part of it. Nobody believes it, or they don't acknowledge her as Middle Eastern because her mother's white.
I don't see how you can't see it that she's not white.
Because there's always the black women saying that that Kanye married a white woman.
I mean, look, if she's not this color right here, she's white. He could have married a light-skinned African-American woman and most black women still would have complained.
Fair enough. I'm just saying sometimes it's hard to distinguish Middle Eastern.
I mean,
and
he
America.
could have married a dark-skinned black woman and most black women still would have complained.
True.
So, I mean, hate's going to be around, no matter where you go. And that, in my opinion, that's what Geraldo's doing. Basically, Geraldo's trying to, create that hate and controversy, trying to stay relevant. And the thing is, by asking Russell Simmons, again, you only just continue to show how ignorant he was because you need to get somebody that's going to be relevant. I hate to say it. If you're going to ask somebody that question, ask Drake.
Really?
Ask Nicki Minaj. Ask, these young artists out here because maybe it will give them the opportunity to think what they're showing and what they're presenting.
Do you really think a hip-hop artist of today is going to show up on a Fox News program with Geraldo Rivera, knowing how Fox News has been to hip-hop artists?
Seeing how they treated Cassidy and Kendrick Lamar, maybe not.
Okay.
But maybe they will. Because here's the thing. Maybe we need to go ahead and go higher. Maybe instead of getting those artists, let's go ahead and get Baby on the show. Let's go ahead and get, Jay-Z. You know what I'm saying? Some of these other people. Maybe some of these cats that were back from those previous times, like Leor Cohen. You know what I'm saying? Some of these people that were here and there, and like I said, do it as a panel to go ahead and discuss it that way.
The new gen versus the old gen, and then put some reporters and stuff like that in there.
Something like that.
That'd be better. I mean, yeah, I understand. And Russell, are you an expert on hip-hop? I think you are because of what you found. But a guy that's pushing 60 is not an expert on modern culture. Look, I said this the other day to somebody. I'm 31, and I hear I'm behind the times. Okay? He's 57. No. If I'm behind the times, what is he?
Right.
No, come on, bro.
I mean, and like you said, even with being a celebrity, you know that he's going to be abreast of a lot of, innovation, things that are going on. He's going to know a lot more than we know. But at the same time, I mean, there are a lot of changes. There's things that I think he definitely has a very good idea, understanding, and grasp on.
Yes.
And I think there are some things that, you might want to go ahead and refer to your daughters. Because he still has 2 with Kimura, so you might want to go ahead and reach out to them. Even Kimura being, is closer to the age frame of, what's going on right now. So maybe even she might know. But, yeah.
I don't know. I just think 2 old guys arguing over if it's done damage. You're not talking about it doing damage to you. You're talking about doing damage to much younger people, so...
I mean, just listening to it, in theory, it sounds like, the episode or the conversation that happened right before the Preacher Band dancing in Footloose. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, it just sounds like a conversation that should not have taken place. Because if you're going to do that, you have to do the same thing to other genres of music too, not just hip-hop. You have to look at the racism in country music. in regards to how it's being portrayed and things of that nature. I mean, and even other forms of music. But I mean, if you're going to look at American styles and American forms of music, if you're going to look at hip hop, you're going to also have to look at adult contemporary and country, western, also as forms of, and even that emo rock or whatever you want to call it, as forms of how racism is being played out. Because aside from that, you're also going to see how drug use, spousal abuse and addiction are also played out too. And again, those are also much larger issues that I think we should, be focusing on the racism, because racism is going to be around no matter what.
Yes.
As long as people are able to separate themselves for whatever reason that they feel is viable, racism is going to be around. But the thing is, music, especially hip hop, rap, and R&B, has shown that there's ways to connect us all. And so, yeah.
So, Geraldo, I think you're just a cranky old man.
It's like a fat one.
Russell, yes, you're a legend, but everything you say, I don't know. I don't go along with everything anybody says.
Go retire somewhere.
So, how about 2 Chainz was on talking about weed with Nancy Grace, arguing the finer points of marijuana legalization. That would be an interesting debate, for a bigger scale. But Geraldo versus Russell? Nah.
Nah, I mean, like I said, it's just it's two people that know their own industry, but again, not enough about each other to try to to go ahead and butt heads with it. I mean, like I said, if 2 Chainz is a weed advocate and he knows his stuff, I'd definitely be more than happy and interested in in hearing him. I mean, he's then went from Titty Boy to 2 Chainz, so apparently maybe he's then went from middle school to high school or high school to college, and and like I said, I mean, I'd love to hear it. But if he's gonna come out sounding ignorant and not having good points to support his argument, then it's gonna again just basically only hurt negatively. Everything he's trying to do.
Fair enough. So we'd like to thank you all for watching this episode of Are You Effing Serious?
Yes, indeed. Again, Geraldo, you know better. Go ahead and tighten up. Lucky I won't dare. I'm about to throw a chair at you. You know how that ends up. But again, until next time, take it easy.